Hi everyone. I had a couple of people ask me about double bridles, so I thought I would do a short bit on double bridles. You can hear the rain falling. It's one of those cold days. So first I want to go over double bridles. A double bridle has both a snaffle and a curb. So here is your curb and here is your snaffle. The curb acts with leverage and the snaffle does not. They have an opposing and complementary effect, which I will talk about later. What I want to talk about right now are the choices you have in curved bridles, curved bits, and snaffles or bridoons. There's a specific snaffle that comes for a double bridle called a bridoon. The snaffle ring is small enough to sit in behind the curved bit, and I'll show you more of this when we go ahead and put these on a horse. The bridoon should be a 1/4 inch wider than the Weymouth or the curb. You have different choices of snaffle designs and curb designs. You have different metals that you can use. Coming from a Western background, my favorite metal for a bit is sweet iron, which is unusual in the dressage or the English world. So I get my bits from a bit maker in Sweden. These two are the sweet iron. Stainless is very common. Most horses don't mind stainless. It's kind of a blah flavor. So this bit and this bit are stainless, and this bit is O'Regan. It has a lot of brass and copper in it, and some horses like the O'Regan or the copper and brass combination in their bit. The diameter of the bars of the curb bit, wider diameter is a little milder because it will come down against the tongue. That's the one thing that a curb does that the snaffle doesn't. So we have to be careful and make sure the horse is educated to be able to work in a curb. The length of the shank, this is the shank and this is the purchase. There has to be enough purchase on the design of a Weymouth for the snaffle to have space to tuck in behind it. That's one thing that you need to make sure of. The longer the shank, the more torque you can have in pounds. But sometimes too short of a shank, the horse doesn't have much warning when the bit's going to begin moving. So you have to see what works for your horse. Different shank designs, which if you think about the shank, you have a point here, which is your fulcrum of your bit. And then from there to there is the distance. Now this is a different design. This is a reproduction of an academic bit. But again, with all of this ornamentation, the function is still the same, point to point. The same with a cavalry cheek, or some people call this an Austrian cheek, point to point. This is the similar distance. These are all between 8 and 10 centimeters, which they're all legal to go ahead and show in if you want to do that. This has a wider port. This is the port, the bars and the port. If you have a horse with maybe a thick tongue, you may want to go with more narrow bars and a wider port. It really depends on what your horse prefers and how his mouth is made. One design that seems to help some horses, not all horses like it, but some horses really do like it. And that is what's called the Bemelman. The Bemelman, you can see, has a curve to it that lays in the shape of the tongue. Some horses, that really makes a big difference in how well they deal with the curb bit. If you do decide on the Bemelman design, you need to get your bridoon that matches the curve. Either a 3-piece, or here I bought a 2-piece, but it definitely matches the curve because they need to sit in unison on the horse's tongue. I was asked about when a horse is ready to go into a double, and it really depends on the horse because some horses don't ever really need to go into a double. It may not be a need, it may be an educational issue. You simply want to work with subtleties that you can have with a double bridle. That's one way to think about it. Another way that a horse may need a curb is if they force the pole open, even when they have a good education of rounding the pole with a snaffle. If they continually force the pole open or have a very difficult time giving the pole while keeping the neck at the same height, a double bridle may help you a lot. I was told that some horses can't be fully schooled without it, and some never need it. So it's not a graduation process to make your way up to a curb. It's simply, what does the horse need? So those are the two situations that the horse might need a curb, whether they are forcing the pole open or they are having a hard time rounding the neck without dropping the neck. I had another question from a Western rider, which I have a lot of them. I have spent a lot of time in Western curbs. Working with the double is quite different. What about using a Western bit, a truly Western bit that you can get from the store to build your double bridle? I looked extensively at Western bits and I could not find a Western bit that would function as well as the bits that are designed to be on the double bridle, and I can show you why. This is my Western double when I do presentations in Western areas. One of my favorite bridles. The couple reasons why I chose this is because, I mean, come on, it looks cool. And it is designed for the snaffle to fit in the proper place. And it has the shank length that is appropriate for a double bridle. One of the problems we have with Western bits is here's one of my Western bridles. The snaffle might fit well into this area, but this shank is 5 inches long. And Western people, we're going to talk about inches. This shank, none of these are over 4 inches. Because we are dealing with more contact, more consistent communication through the curb, the Western design doesn't suit that purpose as well. The Western design is for when you take the weight out of the reins, the horse already hears what you want to do. They can hear it, a little movement, and they can respond. That's not really the way that a Weymouth is used in a double bridle. So the Western design of curbs doesn't seem to, I could not find a Western curb that would fit this design. So I just bought an appropriate Weymouth and with a shank design that I liked, and I put it on a Western bridle. So those are the two reasons that I do not use a Western curb on my double bridles, because it is a really different process riding a Western in a curb versus riding in a double bridle. So now I'm going to put a double on one of my horses that uses a double regularly, and we'll talk a little bit more.
Okay, start talking.
Oh, I can start talking now.
Yeah.
Okay.